What does it take for a nation to lift more than 800 million people out of extreme poverty in just 4 decades? It sounds almost impossible, right? But in just 40 years, China has achieved exactly that. The country has transformed from a place where most people struggled for basic survival to the world's second-largest economy, effectively ending absolute poverty. This isn't just a story about economic numbers. It's a story of human dignity, relentless determination, and a massive national effort. Today, we're going to explore how China transformed millions of lives and what this incredible feat means for the rest of the world. To truly grasp this achievement, we have to look back at where China started. In the late 1970s, China was one of the poorest countries on Earth. Over 80% of the population lived in rural areas, and most of them were below the international poverty line. Families struggled to put food on the table. Clean water was a luxury, and electricity was just a distant dream for millions. The challenge was staggering. China had a huge population, very little farmland per person, and an infrastructure that was mostly broken. The cycle of poverty seemed unbreakable. Children often had to leave school early to work in the fields, and preventable diseases were common because healthcare was out of reach. This was the reality when the journey of reform began. The turning point came in 1978 with the start of the Reform and Opening Up policy. Led by Deng Xiaoping, the government shifted its entire focus to economic development. It began in the countryside with the household responsibility system, which gave farmers more control over their land and crops. For the first time in decades, farmers had a real incentive to produce more because they could sell their surplus at the market. This single change ignited a massive boost in agricultural productivity. As rural incomes started to rise, it laid the foundation for the country's industrial boom. The government also set up special economic zones along the coast, attracting foreign investment and turning China into the world's factory. This created millions of jobs, drawing workers from the countryside to the cities in what became the largest migration in human history. But as the economy grew, the government realized that growth alone wouldn't reach everyone. Some people were left behind because they lived in remote areas, lacked education, or had disabilities. To solve this, China introduced the strategy of targeted poverty alleviation. This approach was incredibly detailed. Instead of a one-size-fits-all solution, the government identified every single impoverished household in the country. Millions of officials and volunteers were sent to live in poor villages. They worked directly with families to understand their specific needs. If a family was poor because they couldn't get their goods to market, the government helped build a road. If they were poor due to a lack of skills, they were given vocational training. This surgical approach made sure that help reached those who needed it most. You can't escape poverty if you're cut off from the world. So China invested hundreds of billions of dollars into rural infrastructure. Today, nearly every village in China is connected by paved roads. High-speed rail and modern highways have bridged the gap between the rural interior and the prosperous coast. Electricity and internet access were also top priorities. By bringing the digital economy to the countryside, the government unlocked what they call e-commerce poverty alleviation. Farmers in remote mountains who once struggled to sell their fruit can now sell their products directly to customers in Beijing or Shanghai using just a smartphone. Education and healthcare were the other two pillars. The government made sure 9 years of compulsory education were truly accessible to every child, providing subsidies for books and meals. They also built a basic medical insurance system that now covers over 95% of the population, preventing families from falling back into poverty because of medical bills. The transformation of rural China also meant moving from simple farming to modern agriculture. The government provided subsidies for better seeds, modern machinery, and irrigation systems. In areas where the land was too harsh for farming, the government undertook huge relocation projects, moving entire communities to new modern villages with better access to jobs and services. And job creation wasn't just for the cities. The government encouraged township and village enterprises, which brought small-scale manufacturing and processing jobs right into rural areas. This allowed people to leave the land but not the village, earning a factory wage while staying close to their families. The real meaning of this journey is found in the lives of the people. Take the story of a grandmother in the mountains of Guizhou province. For most of her life, she carried water in buckets up a steep trail and had never seen a doctor. Today, she lives in a modern apartment with running water, a TV, and a health clinic just a short walk away. Her grandchildren are in school, dreaming of becoming engineers and teachers instead of worrying about their next meal. In another region, a young man who once saw no future in his village now runs a successful online business selling local honey. He was part of a government training program that taught him how to use social media for marketing. These aren't just isolated stories. They are the reality for millions who have been given a new chance at life. China's success has literally changed the global poverty map. According to the World Bank, China's efforts account for over 70% of the global reduction in extreme poverty in the last 4 decades. By achieving its poverty reduction goals 10 years ahead of the United Nations 2030 schedule, China has provided a potential roadmap for other developing nations. Countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America are now looking at China's model of infrastructure-led growth and targeted support. China's experience shows that poverty is not a destiny. It's a problem that can be solved with the right policies and sustained political will. But despite these incredible achievements, the work isn't finished. China acknowledges that while absolute poverty is gone, relative poverty and the wealth gap are still challenges. The focus has now shifted to rural revitalization and the pursuit of common prosperity. The goal now is to make sure the progress is sustainable. This means protecting the environment while growing the economy, and ensuring the quality of life in rural areas continues to catch up with the cities. It's about making sure no one is left behind as China continues its journey to becoming a fully developed, modern nation. The eradication of extreme poverty in China is one of the greatest humanitarian achievements in history. It's a testament to what can happen when a nation stays focused on a single goal for decades. China's journey from widespread poverty to global prosperity shows the world that with determination, innovation, and leadership, it's possible to change the fate of millions and build a brighter future for all. As we look to the future, the story of China's 40-year struggle serves as a powerful beacon of hope. It reminds us that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome, and that a world without poverty isn't just a dream, but a goal that is within our reach. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content like this. See you in the next one.